So normally we work very hard on making our music sing, right? But we forget that music must also speak. And this is what phrasing is all about. So let me give you a simple example of a sentence. I love ice cream. I think a lot of us can share that, right? Well, so it tells you what I mean, but it only tells you a little bit about what I mean, right? Let's think about different ways we can say. You can say, I love ice cream. Like you, I don't know. I love ice cream. I love ice cream, as opposed to, let's say, cake, right? So we can make life even more complicated. We say, I love ice cream. Are you kidding me? I'm allergic. Or you can say, I love ice cream. No, I kind of like it, but I'd rather have cake, right? I love ice cream. You forgot I'm allergic again, right? So all of these, did you notice that I said the same exact words, but they had completely different meaning? Well, it's the same thing. We can play exactly the same notes and have meaning that is completely different. This is where phrasing comes in, and usually we spend so much time and energy figuring out, notes, fingering, counting, all that difficult stuff, that somehow we forget to give them actual meaning or to phrase them. Now, how do we decide what phrasing to use? Well, it depends is the right answer. So did you notice that my more complicated sentences that I used, I love ice cream, wasn't the complete sentence. It was only part of a sentence, right? It had other clauses. So you have to decide if what you're phrasing is a whole or just part of a whole. And after that, things become more simple. If you want to make something a statement, you usually go from soft to loud and back to soft. If you want to make something a question, you end up being loud. Simple rules, right? Now let's start applying them. That's where things get a lot less simple. So I thought one good example is Mozart C Major Sonata. It's a piece that all of you have either played or will play. Like every pianist must play it. It's the law, right? This guy. That guy. Okay. So I'm gonna play you the first 4 measures, and then we can discuss. Tried to be very, very specific about how I thought it should be phrased. So did you hear what I did? Most phrases are arch form. In other words, they start softer, and then they get loud somewhere in the middle, usually on a strong beat, and then get soft again. So then we had our very simple phrase. Now, it's interesting, did you notice that the loudest note was not the highest note at all? Now, you could go, but then the phrase is very lopsided. So that's another rule to consider, is that usually the loudest note in a phrase should be on a strong beat. So we come up again with, here's our strong beat, right? And then we have the second unit, which is very similar, and whatever we decided about the first unit, we then have to do. Here's our loudest note. Okay, so everything is straightforward. But what if you are a speed demon and you want to play this piece really, really fast? It's possible, maybe not ideal, but possible. Then maybe having every 2 measures going up and down is annoying. So in that case, you might consider completely different meaning to each phrase. So then the first half will be crescendo, and the second half will be diminuendo, like. Wasn't that cute? Do we like that? So who thinks this is the best way to go? No? Oh, some people do like that. And who likes to divide it into 2 groups? Some people have no opinion whatsoever. Okay, so this is an example that I chose. But now what I'd like to do is ask for people to volunteer with your piece so we can illustrate to everybody decisions we make about phrasing. So who would like to go first? All right? talked about already. Most phrases will start soft, get louder somewhere, and then get soft again, right? So let's make a decision. What is going to be the loudest note? You're choosing the note which is the highest. Now, guys, this is a very common pitfall. Just because a note's highest does not mean that it is the loudest. Now, it might mean it's the loudest in composers like Chopin or Rachmaninoff, but classical period, no, not at all. We're looking for a note which is on a strong beat. Okay? Get louder. And then quiet. Beautiful! We got ourselves a phrase. Okay, can you try it with both hands, but keep the left hand super quiet so it doesn't cover up all of that gorgeousness. Oops. It's very hard to make the start of the trill loud, right? Because our finger's not strong enough. So, have you heard about the law of gravity? Let's use it. Let's come up with our hand. Here we go. Go really slow. Go louder. Here, I'm going to go on this side of you and help you raise your hand for the loudest note. Let's just do right. Okay? And then dump from the air. Yeah. That's what I mean by using gravity. Your hand's heavy. For a grown person, a human hand is like 18 pounds or so on the average. If you let it drop naturally, that's a lot of sound, even for somebody like me with no muscles at all, anywhere to be found, right? And even for a smaller person, like a kid, you still got a lot of weight in the car, so let it be. Okay, so now, let's figure out, this guy happens twice, right? What if, when you learn it, you're gonna go really fast again? We still have another option. The first time can be crescendo, and the second time can be diminuendo. Do you want to try it? Okay, well, maybe just do the right hand. So start quiet. Keep getting louder. Keep getting louder and loud. And then start super loud on the second one. And get softer. And then end really nice quiet. That was also cool. Did you like it? Okay, let's take a vote again. Who liked what? Do we like a big crescendo, big diminuendo, or two small crescendos and two small diminuendos? Who likes to phrase two measures at a time? Nobody likes it? Okay, who likes to phrase over the whole two lines? Wow. You might want to consider, listening to them, or you can ignore them completely, because here's the good thing. Do we know what Mozart says for the dynamics in our sonata? Mozart says absolutely nothing, which is great. Freedom, right? Which means you can do whatever you want, and you can change your mind from one day to the next. But not the day of recital. That's also very important. All right, thank you, Hein. Next, somebody else. I would be very proud of myself if I were you. Give me 5. Now let's talk about how not to make it sound like a robot also. So I'm going to ask you exactly the same thing. Where do you think the first phrase begins and ends? Because that's the first decision you have to make. I totally agree with you. Okay, so what is going to be what are going to be the softest notes in it? Absolutely, but there's one more. Right? Remember, we start soft and we end soft. Right? Okay, so you figured that out. What's going to be the loudest? Yes, exactly. So can we do just in the right hand? Can we do those two measures beautifully? As you almost have it, but we got a little bit of this. We got ti da da di da da. Instead, don't we want to climb up like a staircase? Da da di da da. Yeah. Oh, now that was delicious, right? Okay, who knows what a minuet is? Do you know what a minuet is?
Yeah, dance.
It's a dance, right? Very good. So this business happens in so many minuets.
Yeah,
Exactly, and in every minuet you have to imagine that the dancers do something heavy on the first beat, like maybe they go T and then they come up in the tippy toes, right? And you just made us hear that. Okay, now can you make us hear that with both hands? Now it's the same thing, only probably louder, right? But start medium. Forgot to get quiet. I know, it's so hard to add new stuff to a piece you've already practiced. But you understand, these measures are the same. Okay, first line there is easy peasy. The problems begin on the second line because there's so many different things we can do, right? So play for everybody in case people have forgotten it.
the whole piece?
Just that line, the second line. Well, now you're doing the last line, not the second line. But it doesn't matter because both these lines are doing something interesting. Did you notice how from the first measure to the second measure, the music is getting what? Higher or lower?
Lower.
And what about from the second measure to the third measure? Is it getting higher or lower?
Higher and then it goes lower.
I don't think so. First measure, and then one step lower. Then, if we're talking about the second measure, then one step lower. So we have three measures, each one of them is getting lower. Okay, so that gives us...
Getting lower like
Yeah, so this gives us interesting options in phrasing, right? Instead of starting soft and getting loud and getting soft again, which we can do. We can also start loudest and then do less and less. So those of you who already had lessons with me, you know I like the three bears because it's very easy to visualize music like that. This line can go Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. Or it can go Baby Bear, Mama Bear, Papa Bear, and then Baby Bear. Right? So let's try both of them. Do you want to try starting loud and then getting softer?
Yeah.
Or starting softer and getting loud?
I want to first try starting louder and then...
Okay, so Baby Bear first.
Yeah.
Let's be loud.
No, not Baby Bear first, Papa.
Papa, did I say Baby Bear?
Yeah.
Bad for me, sorry. Oh, that was so lovely, wasn't it? Made
Yeah.
sense. But since we're trying different things, why don't we start with Baby Bear and then get louder instead of softer?
Okay.
Now Mama, Papa, and back to Baby. See, I like them both. Okay.
I like the first one better.
You're like, okay, fine. So you're not even interested in what they all think, right?
But I want to know.
Yeah, so, all right. Who likes Baby Bear first? Or, no. I'm saying it wrong again. Who likes Papa Bear first? Who likes Baby Bear first? Oh dear. So, I think you have to go with your own opinion, babe.
Okay, I'll go with Papa Bear first.
Okay, great job. Exactly. I think that's very good. Because, as we said, it's a dance. Okay, great. So, who was next, victim? All right, so now things are getting much more complicated because, you know. but let's see if we can give it a little bit more shape again. So we have a bunch of running notes, because we work so hard at making them even and crisp and correct and fast, we tend to forget that they need to be a melody also. Not that you're doing it, I'm just talking to everyone now. Where is the loudest part of this sentence?
Kind of like the last one.
Right at the end, right?
That part.
Right. So basically then the whole excerpt does what?
Increases the crescendo.
So I'm thinking the way you started, you didn't leave yourself much room for growing over that long of a distance. So yes, each measure has little ups and downs, which you're doing beautifully. You don't hear me complaining about those anymore. It's all good. But I'm still not hearing how the music climbs that staircase.
Yeah.
This is another one of those unusual phrases. Remember how I said most phrases are arches? The important word here is most, but not all. This is one of them, like weirdo phrase. Yeah? Okay, so let's see if we can start at a level that you plan ahead in your mind that gives you enough room to explode. Almost there already. Here's my complaint, and I know if anybody else heard it. Did we hear each measure climb a staircase, or did something happen in a place?
Something happened.
Any idea where it happened? Because she did it twice exactly the same way, so there was a chance for everybody to analyze it. It's so much easier to learn on other people's stuff, right?
Yeah.
So, maybe do it again, and when you hear her dropping instead of rising, in case she does it again, somebody holler or raise your hand. She didn't do it this time. Good girl, you caught yourself. Yeah. Yes, but you fixed the problem, right? It was the third one. Yeah, so we're going from baby to mama, and then not baby again, but papa, and then many big relatives.
Yeah.
Or maybe we're starting with the baby mouse, mama mouse, papa mouse, and then,
The mouse gets eaten by a cat. The story continues.
Well, thank you, sweetheart. Now we all have that image. Great. Good thing we just finished having our lunch. The rules are a little bit different for romantic music. This is kind of why I would like a variety. That was already incredibly beautiful playing, as you know. But I do have a complaint. A little one. I think, okay, you played this whole thing as one unit. So if it were a sentence, would that sentence have any punctuation marks in it? Exactly where? You can stop, you can start again and stop exactly where we would have like a little bit of a comma. That the last note before our comma was the loudest. I think in romantic music, the arches are a little bit more complicated. Instead of straight like this, they kind of do that a little bit. I think we needed to pull back just a little bit on the last note. Not all the way down, right? Remember my beautiful little shape? The last couple of times. Somewhere within that first unit, you also dropped. And that would be very cute for the third time we hear this theme. I think in the beginning of the piece, it's the first time we hear this, I think that was too busy. I think the first time you should just basically go up, taper a little teeny bit on the top, and then go down and taper a lot on the bottom. I think of this as like heart-shaped, you know? It like dips, but not all the way. Yeah, that's the dip I'm talking about. What if you didn't do it? What if you went straight? Because it's the first time. You know what happens to all of us when we practice a piece that we love? We do it, we love it, we get it perfect, and then we get bored with it. And then we start doing stuff to it. And then the next day, whatever we did to it the day before, we're already bored with that, so we're doing more stuff with it. And sooner or later, the piece is filled with, you know, extraneous stuff. But you have to think that your listener has never heard it before. So for your listener, there has to be a playing time before you start doing stuff. So can we try? I know you have to kind of force it because it's memorized a certain way. But can you try getting to the top, doing a little bit of a dip, and then getting straight to the bottom? See, I thought that phrasing is perfect for the first time we hear something. Now, you also stop doing rubato this time. I didn't say that. It's Chopin, we got a rubato. Do you guys know what rubato means for the little ones? Rubato, would you like to explain? Rubato is the pushing and pulling of time to make things expressive. So in Mozart, you generally go with a metronome or something. But in romantic music, especially in Chopin, that makes things again sound a little bit robotic. So normally, whatever your phrase is, you're gonna start slower, right? You're gonna speed it up to the important moment, which you may want to take some time for. And then as you get softer, you're gonna start fast again and then slow. In other words, as you get louder, you're also gonna get a little faster and a little, right? Good taste. As most waltzes that repeat a million times, I would start out with the simplest possible presentation. Great. Now, this is a very complicated piece for phrasing, isn't it? Because unlike phrases in Mozart or Chopin, they're not arches, are they? They're... But we have to figure out exactly what they do. So, it may be easier if we use your book, unless you know it very well. Can we do this without the triplets? Can we do only the melody notes and see what comes out? Absolutely fantastic. So then that means I can torture you by asking you hard questions. So this melody, how many different voices are in it? So how many people are involved in this dance? Remember, Gigue is a dance. Yeah. So how many people are dancing? If you count the triplets, but I don't think that's a dancer. I think that's somebody like board, violin. So I think the dancers are the notes you're poking out, I'm talking about, right? So there's her when you're cross, and there's him over there, okay? So I think it's very important to hear what each of the voices does. So let me drive you a little bit more crazy. Can you do only her? notice what she already did. For some reason, her loudest note was her first one. Right? That's kind of weird. Ding, dum, dum, dum. Yeah, right? That's a little bit weird. So can we at least start with a little bit more elegance? I mean, she's a girl. Okay. So we have dum, da, dum, ti, dum. What are we expecting now? I don't think so. Any normal composer would have done this. But that's not what we're getting, right? We're getting a surprise. But D is a big old surprise. So when we have surprises, we have to treat them as special. You kind of just went to him. And when I asked you what's surprising, you were not surprised. Be surprised. Okay, one more time. Well, I think when we do surprises, I think it's best to actually pull back, because that's more surprising. So you don't. Remember, it's a dance with two very beautifully dressed people with big skirts and wigs and all that, and they're having fun with each other. That's much more funner. Yeah? Okay, so then you need to plan all her stuff very carefully like that. Because in your mind, what's above your right hand and what's below your left hand are the same thing, but they are not. They're completely separate people. So your first job is to figure out what each of them wants to do. And then you have to figure out how they're dancing with each other. You might even want to try, when you got your book with you, instead of doing both of them with your left hand, doing her with the right hand, and doing him with the left hand, and nobody does the triplets. Because then you can hear them as separate people. I think you're gonna have a much better time. Because right now, even though you're doing such a beautiful job on the Gigue, there's still a little bit of aerobatic or motoric quality. Like, I've practiced those notes. I have got them. I will play them perfectly for you right now if it kills me. Instead of, oh, I've got these two people doing cool stuff. Yeah, there's triplets in between, but my technique's so good, it's not hard. Right? That's the feeling that we want. But yeah, so this is a particularly difficult example of a Bach. Anyone else? I think we may have time for one more. Thank you. That's quite all right, because we already have a bunch of stuff to talk about. Because there's so many different ways to hear this melody. And which is a good thing, because it repeats what, 6 times? Comma, or do we keep going? Okay, you're looking at me trying to read the correct answer in my face. But there is no correct answer. Right? Because again, Schumann doesn't tell us, and also, as I keep saying, this thing happens 6 times or more. I don't remember exactly, which means that we can do it differently. Maybe the first time we really can hear breath with a pickup. Maybe a little bit less diminuendo and then diminuendo. But then maybe like the 5th or the 6th time we hear it, maybe the whole phrase can become still growing. Right? Normally we have to choose, but with a composer like Schumann, who likes to do the same thing a million times in the same piece, maybe we don't have to choose. Maybe we can do one of each.
Yeah.
Which is like really interesting. That basically we never want our listeners to be bored, right? Even if the composer is repeating something 6 times. If our playing is boring, that's not on the composer, that's on us. Yeah, exactly. So can you pick one of those 2 options, like big comma, or even maybe a period and a breath? Or a long, long phrase. Don't tell us which one. decision super clear. Let's see if everybody else heard it. So what do you do? Short phrases or long? See, that's great. You may change your mind tomorrow. They may not even like the fact that they were long phrases, but you made your decision crystal clear. And we have to do that, otherwise our playing is again boring, right? All right, thank you guys. You were so easy to work with. I love it.